Yo, Eric, we're over here on the Paranormal Hunt, and I headed over to this other building, and it's number 13. I was just telling Ron, my God.
You know, I was just thinking during that intro, I don't know why, I was thinking of video games. Is there a video game like that has all cryptid characters to fight each other and to come out who is the king cryptid? Like, you know, there's like superhero game, Mortal Kombat. I'm wondering if there's one about cryptids. You know, have all the cryptids go on there, because who is the king of the cryptids?
That would be awesome. Not for nothing.
I don't know why I just thought of that. Like, wow, wouldn't that be cool? You could have Mothman fight Bigfoot. Skinwalker fight
that would be cool.
You know, because the question is, who is the king of cryptid? And that could be a different meaning for different people. Is it like who would win in a fight? Who do you think is the most popular? But I mean, come on. We know technically the most popular is Bigfoot. But could Bigfoot defeat a Wendigo? Could it defeat a Mothman?
That's a great question.
And what about those skinwalkers that could change into a werewolf and stuff? I mean, yes, we know Bigfoot's 9 foot. You know, we don't want to meet one in an alley or by ourselves in the woods. We know that. But could a Bigfoot defeat a Wendigo? And guys, look beneath me. He's not beneath us, but he is beneath me. We got
He's under
Exploring Harley, where Harley heard last Friday we were talking about the Wendigo. And what's great is Exploring Harley has been studying the history of the Wendigo. And he agreed to come on, kind of tell us a better in depth of where the Wendigo story, and maybe he could convince me that for right now, I'm putting Mothman on top, because that thing could look at a bridge and bring it down. That thing's powerful. But we learned last Friday that a Wendigo can change itself into something else. It could mimic a voice.
Yeah, I was just gonna say mimic children's voices or your loved one's voice.
But a Mothman don't care if he can mimic a voice, but does his power could defeat a Wendigo. So
he'll just break your leg.
Harley, tell us in a way, where did the story of Wendigo even originated from?
Well, first of all, hello everyone. And the story of the Wendigo, you have to go really far back to before the French explorers came to Canada. The French explorer the real first explorer came to Canada in 1534 was Jacques Cartier. But afterwards, loads of French explorers came to Canada, and the Algonquin nation, where they were seeing those invaders coming in. And in their tradition, before those white men came, they had a story that they were telling the children to scare them. Because you have to know that the Algonquin nations were hunter-gatherers. They were not warriors. You had your warrior nations like the Iroquois, the Mohawks, I think the Ottawa. You had those warrior nations, okay? And to protect the children that wanted to be strong and like the strong as the strongest hunter, or well, exactly. He wanted to show himself. He wanted to show his valor. So they were telling the children that if you would go in the forest, if you would go alone in the forest, you would live alone in the forest, you would become a Wendigo. And the Wendigo would kill you, will hide behind trees, behind bushes, behind. But those were the way of the Iroquois warriors, the way they were fighting. They were vicious. They were hiding behind trees and coming out and hack you and go hide. So when the French explorers came, if you want to show, I will show a map of Canada or North America. Actually, these are the regions where the Algonquin-speaking nations were roaming. This little part in the middle, that was used to be the Siksika Nation. Those were practically extinct. You have a couple of individuals that still have Siksika blood, but those nations were kind of decimated early before the French explorer came. And along this way, you had the Mississippi River. The French explorers went all the way down there. You have to, if like you hear stories about Wendigos down there, it's possible because the French explorers came all the way down to Louisiana. Okay. And you have that part of upstate New York or Maine.
Maine, yeah.
Going all the way down, I think it's like Virginia and parts of North Carolina.
They also came into my hometown. That's Staten Island, right there in the middle by New York. So they were over here by me too. Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Exactly. Because those areas were, there were all the places where the Algonquin-speaking nations were roaming. And those are the nations where the Wendigo legend was embedded.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Frenchman came, white man comes.
Shame on us.
Yeah. Oh, and especially those Jesuit missionaries when they came down here.
Oh, the Jesuits.
With the black robes.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine you're a native. You're seeing those black robes coming to you and speaking about their God. It's their God that is better than everything, better than nature. So you had those elders that they weren't really seeing eye to eye with those Jesuit monks. There was one monk in particular here in Trois-Rivières. Trois-Rivières was founded in 1634. 1636, after one of his voyages up on the St. Maurice River, a Jesuit monk called Paul Le Jeune came back and wrote the story of an elder woman that told him about a creature that was living in the woods. That if you would go in the woods at night, he will kill you. Or if you get lost, you will live alone in the woods. You will become a Wendigo. They were trying to scare the French off. So Paul Le Jeune, and you have to remember in the 17th century, those French were afraid of everything. They were afraid of their own shadows. So if you told them that there were a creature living in the woods that they didn't, it was the new world for them. Yeah, new people dress bizarrely. So
this is here French monk in his pictures in the 1600s.
So like you have those like yeah, they're dressed, and you have to remember that before the French came all the way down to in North America, around 1603, they were already doing commerce around this area, a river named the Saguenay here in Canada. They were already doing commerce with the Algonquin nations up there. So the Algonquin nations, they knew about the French. They were trying to scare them off because they knew that the French were coming in. And there you go. the Black Rose.
That's the Jesuit monks right there from that
Exactly.
time period.
Exactly. So Paul Le Jeune, when he wrote this report to the King of France that a creature was roaming in the forest, the King of France, he sent some reinforcements to his garrisons here in Canada to reinforce the garrisons against an unknown enemy. They made a big deal of that thing. Actually, it was the story of an elder woman. And if I go right here, I will go in. That's the Canadian Encyclopedia. I'm a bookworm, but I found the version, the electronic version of it. And you have all the story, all the history that says where it began. So the Wendigo legend existed in Algonquin oral history for many centuries, long before a European arrived. And you have right here that the first European written account of the Wendigo was written by Paul Le Jeune, a Jesuit missionary who lived among the Algonquin people in early 17th century in what is now Quebec, in where I live. And it was reported to the superiors in Paris in 1636. That's what actually Paul Le Jeune wrote. The devilish woman added that the Wendigo had eaten some Atikamekwen. They are the tribes that live north of the river that is called Three Rivers. That's a city like 20 minutes where I live. I live in a city, it's an Indian name. The name of the city where I live is Shawinigan.
Shawinigan?
Shawinigan, it means waterfalls.
Oh, nice.
And that it would eat at a that you would eat at a great and many more of them if they were not called elsewhere. They wanted the French to go away.
Blame them? I don't blame them.
Exactly. And they had another being that named the Hatchin. It's kind of a werewolf, but that Hatchin, sort of a werewolf, would come to his place and devour them. Even up to the French fort, that it would slaughter the French themselves. So imagine you're 16th century French and you're being told that story. You're gonna shit your pants.
Yeah, they probably believed it, you know?
Exactly.
They probably cut the trees down and avoided the wood line as much as possible, I would believe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where really the legend took its roots, and like from mouth to ear to mouth to ear. We have even a river here in where I live. It's named the Wendigo River, and it's a mix of all the creatures that you can find in the forest, the antlers, the back legs of a moose, the antlers of a deer, the back of a bear, you can say, or the arms of another. It's like all the mix of the creatures that live in the Canadian wilderness that could make out the Wendigo. And I know that here in Shawinigan, we have an island that where the Iroquois warriors used to hide, because the St. Lawrence River was a highway for fur commerce, and they were slaughtering the Algonquins that were coming from the north with their beaver furs, going to Trois-Rivières to trade with the French. So, and there's another story that goes that around 1657, and another Jesuit monk coming back from Matawan coming down the river, came upon some Iroquois warriors here in Shawinigan, and they slaughtered them, and they threw the body of the Jesuit monk down where the big waterfall we have here in Shawinigan, and in the bottom it's called the Devil's Hole, because the Iroquois warriors, they thought that was hell, that was where the bad spirit resides. So when they threw the Jesuit monk back down there, they were throwing back the devil home.
God, yeah.
So, Anthony, you want to go to the Devil's Hole?
I would actually
I would
do it.
love to. But
There's a park. There's a park. It's a beautiful park. And when you see the power of those waterfalls, it's like actually two waterfalls that converge into one.
With everything you learn in the area that you're in, where the Wendigos supposedly exist, is there same stories that a Bigfoot can exist where the Wendigos are at? Can they what you heard? Can they coexist, or they don't like each other?
They could, because the forest where I live, I drive like 5 minutes from my home, and I will go in the forest. I will get lost because where I live, you have the St. Lawrence River, Fleuve Saint Laurent. Actually, it's the main body of water here in Quebec. It's the main highway, and I live like half an hour north of actually Trois-Rivières, where the city is near the Fleuve. So, and the city where I live, it was founded in 1898. But before that, it was a big settlement. It was a native settlement. But when the British decided to take all those native and park them into reservations or to some sort of spaces.
Yeah,
so
they
sold.
You know what?
Exactly. So they sold the land to
you know the map you showed us of the red of where they're supposedly.
Yeah.
I wonder if somebody took that data of that map and they look at the most missing people in the missing 411 cases. Are a percentage of those in those red areas of the Wendigo story? Because Wendigos eat people, and these people missing 411, they go missing without a trace. I'm just curious.
Could be bears attack, because it depends of the season. You can come upon a pack of coyotes.
You know, and the reason I'm asking, Bigfoot Anon and myself interviewed this guy named Brinks. He's a professor up in Japan, and he looks for the Indigo Bigfoot, and he showed us 2 maps of real data of all the hot sightings. Then he showed us the data of all the missing people, and the percentage of the missing people were missing where the sightings were at its highest. I mean, is it luck? Maybe, but it was almost identical of missing people where the Bigfoot sightings were. I'm just curious, with the Wendigo, will we get almost the same thing?
But you have to know that they will give those they will situate those stories in places where like there's dense forest. So it's easy. And like we were talking off air before, that I believe that a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch could exist, because my theory is it's the missing link between the human beings and the monkeys and apes. So why? We have animals that we thought they were extinct, and all of a sudden say, whoa, they're not. So we never know. We know that animals are resilient. They're tough.
True.
And you have an animal will adapt itself to the environment that he will live in.
Yeah. You know what? we said this before. If you put Green Berets, the Army Rangers in a forest, you're never going to see them. Even though they've never been there, you won't see them. But you have a Bigfoot that's in its own area. They're like their own rangers and Green Berets. They know the forest so well. If you can't spot a ranger, because those guys can spy on you, Navy SEALs, those are trained. Bigfoot knows the forest. They've been training since they were babies.
Exactly. It's their environment.
It's their land.
Exactly.
Now,
So
do you believe? I know this is a little bit off topic, but you believe that some people believe that a Bigfoot and maybe a Wendigo can mirage with the surroundings. You think a Bigfoot can also, like, the reason it's hard to find them, that they're miraging with the surroundings, like they're looking more brown, like a tree, like a bush. They kind of change color depending on where they're at.
Yeah, it is in
terrain. Yeah,
it is in the legend. It is really. It is even written when you'll read the article in the encyclopedia. You will see that they're in the beliefs of the native. The Wendigo could be a shapeshifter. He could transform himself. He could even be in the community. He could
That's
even.
what we learned on Friday. Could the Bigfoot you see be a Wendigo?
Never know. We don't know.
Because this is what I believe. Wendigos they know your fear. So say Anthony's in the woods, and that Wendigo knows Anthony fears Bigfoot the most. So it's going to mimic itself as a Bigfoot because that's what he fears the most. Or what if Anthony fears an alien?
So what are you saying, that they're shapeshifters, Eric? These Wendigos? Yeah,
they're like Wendigos have been known as a story. If I'm wrong, Exploring Harley, let me know that they can shapeshift.
It is thought, and I will take even the part where it said.
Do you want to put that up, or you're just reading it?
Yeah, it's right there. So,
because they mimic voices, so I bet
they said it could. You have it right in popular culture. Yeah, they're more talking about like in the movies, but I know they say it somewhere. There's the creature has also come to serve as a metaphor. A metaphor, but where is it?
Well, while you look that up, remember we interviewed Anthony and I interviewed Rob Friday. That came out. The interview came out on a Saturday where he had an encounter with the Bigfoot, but he said during his interview he still doesn't know if that's a Bigfoot because he saw this creature like it the way it looked like. It might not have been a Bigfoot. What if he saw a Wendigo? I mean, he wasn't even sure. He saw a creature, but he doesn't know if that was a Bigfoot, a dogman. But what if it was a Wendigo? And that was up in Michigan.
Oh,
I think
I got it.
Bigfoot.
It's right there. It's the Wendigo is usually, but not always, endowed with powers such as superhuman strength and stamina that allows it to stalk, overpower, and devour its victims. Wendigos are usually credited with exceptional eyesight, hearing, and sense of smell. They are said to move with the speed of the wind, and they have the ability to walk across deep snow or even open water without sinking.
So are they a form of entity, spirit, or whatever that can transform themselves into solid form from spirit form? In other words, the Wendigo. So like demonic, basically.
Demonic, but when you have to put yourself in the mindset of the 16th century, that everything that describes a Wendigo is the way that the elders didn't want their kids to grow in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let me I gotta give Dragon ZW a thank you, because this is awesome. I gotta give this to you. That's awesome. I
Thanks,
appreciate
Coach
that.
Ray,
Hard to cut you off, but I wanted to say thank you for donating to the channel. And listen, I love it when people are at work, they're listening
Hello,
to us.
Cynthia.
But I want to know, if you're listening to us at work, do you play it loud so everybody can hear our wonderful voices? Or do they think you're crazy that you're listening to the people? They're talking about what?
Here you have the meaning of what the Wendigo meant into the traditions of the Algonquin. The Wendigo revealed much about the beliefs, the way of life, and social structures and traditions of the people who tell these stories. For some, Wendigo legends serve as reminders of the importance of community, and more importantly, about what can happen when individuals are left outside of the community. One's recipe for creating a Wendigo: extreme hunger, cold and isolation, and you have somebody who was stranded, who is like ready for anything to survive. Wherever present and threatened facts of life for many First Nation people living in the northern boreal forest. In fact, most Wendigo stories begin with an individual or a small group trapped in the wilderness without food for an extended period, alone in the cold.
But you know what? What's the main difference between a Wendigo and a Skinwalker? If a Wendigo can manipulate voices and maybe change it looks, a Skinwalker goes human to a form. What's the difference between those two?
That I cannot say. I'm not.
What do you
I
think?
never.
What's your opinion?
It could be. It could be the same meaning in
That's what I'm wondering.
the southern. In it, you have to know that hunter gatherers nation, they were roaming and they were walking and they were trading with other nations. So stories would go from mouth to
Came
ear
out right,
from
yeah.
to other
One
nations.
territory to another territory, they would share
Yeah.
stories.
Look at a Bigfoot
Exactly.
in Florida, skunk ape, a Yeti, Sasquatch. I mean,
But I
you know,
think, Eric, I think that the Skinwalker is more of like a Native American story where the Native American would be infected in some way, and then he would be able to transform into an animal form. Where the Wendigo is more from the astral spiritual world that comes to torment here on Earth. You
but
know
a
what I mean?
Wendigo can turn somebody else into a Wendigo
No.
too.
No, I don't think so.
I thought
But
they could.
in the belief, it is said that a person that was transformed into Wendigo can transform somebody else into a Wendigo
Yeah.
because he will.
Right, but you can't. Only one Wendigo can transform another person into a Wendigo. Like that, if it transforms, that other Wendigo dies. Right? It transforms its energy into a new life.
Yeah, but like they transform, but they're saying right here, similarities. Wendigo's legendary greed represent the attitude about sharing in many indigenous cultures. In a society back before the French came, the importance of being all unified in the society was really important, because if you were left alone, you would die. So they were telling the youngsters those stories to keep them in the camp,
Right.
not going in the forest and like coming upon some Iroquois warriors that were roaming around the forest just to get looking for trouble.
So
So
they use this as a fear tactic to keep everybody in their camp from wandering away. Okay.
exactly.
Let me ask you.
So that's the story that when Paul Lejeune wrote it, well, the old lady in the village, she embellished that story to give fear to the French so they would go away.
Yeah, I would too. I'll get rid of the French. I'll do whatever it takes. We don't want no goddamn French here. Screw them. But let me ask you something. You know a lot. Seem like you study a lot. Why? What makes it so intriguing for you to want to dig into the Wendigo? Did you have an experience, or did you know some people that have an experience? Why are you so
I
intrigued with the Wendigo?
I lived over here where I live. It's embedded in the culture.
Mm,
I have native friends.
mm,
I have a native old lady. I did a story, an essay in high school about
wow.
native legends, and I had the chance to talk with an elder lady. She was 91 years old. She was an Atikamek from upper here where I live, and she told me the story of the Wendigo. So I knew the story since I was a kid, and when I started seeing like people that were seeing Wendigos in Colorado and stuff like that, so what?
What about this? This guy wrote, Miss Bama wrote, the truth of the Wendigo is some tribes were cannibals and don't want to admit that, but some would put on animal skins,
Yeah,
slip in camps at night, and steal kids and women.
We read that the other
yeah.
day about the
Yeah,
cannibals. I remember.
those were
Mhm.
the warrior nations like the Iroquois, the Mohawks. You had yeah, I don't really remember all the names of the warrior nations, but you have those nations.
Navajo.
Yeah, exactly, and they were putting uh, exactly uh, animal skins and antlers on their head. The feathers they were putting, they were uh, doing headdresses to blend into the surroundings. Camouflage wasn't invented by the British Army, you know. They saw how the Indians were
The
fighting,
Native
and they say,
Americans did that. Yeah,
uh,
war paint and yeah,
Goddamn
they
British.
exactly.
even even there's even depictions of the Native Americans taking bits of the foliage and stuff and putting the weeds and stuff on them to blend in with the terrain. That's right, Native
They had,
Americans did all of that. Yeah,
they had to do that to hunt. And the Algonquin did it themselves too, because they were camouflaging themselves to hunt. But they had those warriors in the camp. They're great hunters. They were warriors as well, because they were great with bows. They were great with spears. They were great to defend the camp. To defend the camp, not attack. And yet those nations that they would attack, they would take everything. And it's not true that when warriors came, they killed everybody. They killed the strongest, the one that they knew they could rebel against them. They would kill some women, yeah, because if the woman didn't want to follow them willingly, they would kill them. It
evil.
was their way of living. But legends grew into those nations to scare the children not to go in the forest, because you will find that particular legend, that particular cryptid is embedded into the Algonquin nations. You will talk to other nations, and their belief it's gonna have another name, like the Skinwalker for the Navajo and the people from the south. But I'm not really into that particular. I don't know that story. I don't know that history.
Do you go into the woods yourself, like search for cryptids? Not just the Wendigo, like Bigfoot and all that. Do you research, like go out there,
I,
investigate?
I would do it if like around here. I would like somebody would say, I've seen something weird in the woods, and I don't. I would go and investigate and put some cameras and even put like trail cameras, everything. Yeah, I study. I call myself more as a
Researcher.
actually it's a researcher.
Mm.
I go to places with an open mind, with a scientific side of view. But okay, like I went to the Hinsdale house. All right, the story is that the house shook. Make it shake, please. Impress me. We had some stuff. Okay, the house didn't shake, the devil didn't game, but we had some weird encounters. And during the night,
Hold on.
we could
You said
hear
you were in the
pacing.
house and it did shake on you. You asked it to shake and it did.
No, she did. It didn't shake.
It did. Okay.
No, because in the story is that a priest
Okay.
came and he did an exorcism and the house shook. So
Okay.
I told him, make the house shake, please.
Prove it to me.
And
Yeah.
there were stories of like banging and everything. And we heard banging. So bang, please, harder. I want to hear it.
I love it.
And nothing.
Well, it was faint, but we had some rampart hits that it could listen. I had my ramparts in my hand,
Yeah.
and you know when you pick up a rampart, how berserk it goes.
Yep.
It's starting hitting in my hand.
Hmm.
It's starting hitting in my hand, and it became quiet in my hand. I had it like that in my hand. And it was hitting, and it was near the dolls where all the Holden dolls are. I was like, no, that's not normal. That is not normal. So I debunk myself, but why I don't know what is happening? Well,
If Anthony and I could get sponsorship from places where we could go travel around everywhere, we would go to your spot. We would go to visit you in Quebec and go to the mountains and stuff.
So damn expensive now that you can only plan like 2 or 3 trips a year, to go do whatever. Because, one trip for us to go somewhere is going to cost us a couple grand.
That's what I'm saying. If we had a sponsorship where we could just go places.
Yeah, we're working on it.
We're working on it. You definitely. I always want to go to Quebec. I go to Vancouver, Victoria.
I would love.
I always want to go to Quebec. Because they love their hockey team out there, right?
If you come here, I will give you the opportunity to come, and I will bring you on the plains of Abraham, where the big battle happened in 1759 between the French and the British. And I'm waiting for the snow to melt. I'm going to investigate. It's the remains of a church that the British burned in 1759 with the priest and 15 people in the church.
Wow.
So
I want to investigate that place. I want to have
that place too.
That church don't still exist, does it? In 1700s, it's still there.
Just the ruins, just the layout of the church is still on the ground.
Go there with a metal detector, man. God only knows what you find on the floorboards and stuff. You never know.
It's a park. It's like all grassed. Well, I want to go there. Yeah. Put my tent, camp there with a buddy, put some ramparts, put some stuff, call out, use my good old tape recorder because I go old style. I go Ed and Lorraine style, freaking old
school. That's the best way to go.
Yeah, I got this. A digital recorder.
So I go to historic places because I want those people in history that haven't had a chance to give their final message.
Yes.
Awesome. I went to investigate, and that's what I say. I know that the Wendigo is a legend. I know there's something out there why that legend became. I know that, the Iroquois and everything, but Bigfoot, we don't know. We don't know.
I agree.
It's the same with the paranormal. We don't know. And my theory is when people die, abruptly, they have a final message to get through. That's in Insdale. That's Angelo exploring. Angelo he's in the closet, and he kept hearing somebody saying like, turn around. That is the old county jail I went to. It's in St. Andrews, New Brunswick. It's an old town. The jail was built in 1832, was an active jail until 1979. And the courthouse was built in 1840, was an active court until 2016. So I want to go to like historic. I went on a Titanic gravesite. Down there, there's a prison beside the Titanic one. That's a prison for boys that I did, and it's in Nova Scotia. It is active like crazy. I had a BB thrown at me.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
You
I
got
just
a lot
started
of great videos on your channel.
Yeah.
I'm just showing everybody.
Thanks.
This is his channel, and you can look at his channel right here. You can see a lot of paranormal stuff. You got one coming up called "The Demons That Roam Charlotte County," the craziest method ever feature overnight, investigating a very special place, the ship, graveyards. Man, is this
I go to abandoned graveyards.
Like if, you're more of a paranormal kind of a guy.
Yeah.
Looking at all this.
Yes. I because I want to show that is something. I go with an open
You have
mind.
a nice Harley, man.
Oh, thanks. That's why I call the channel Exploring Harley.
What kind of Harley you have?
It's a Street Bob, a 2020 Street Bob.
Nice.
Do you have set days of your live shows? Because I see you do a lot of live shows. There's like a certain day
Live
you do one?
streams are on Wednesdays, usually around 7 or 8, depending on the schedule of my guest. Because sometimes I have guests from
East
the
Coast
UK.
time or Pacific time?
East Coast time.
East Coast time. Okay.
Yes. And sometimes I have like guests from the UK. I have guests from the States. I collaborate a lot with another Canadian creator. His name is Lomar Mens. He's in Nova Scotia, and over there, it's the oldest part of Canada, Nova Scotia.
You know who you should get to be your guest? There's another great channel. It's called the Unidentified S4 channel. And they got this host named Anthony. Sometimes they get this guy named Eric and Ron on there. You should get those guys.
Oh yeah, I will get those guys on the show. I was looking for new guests to come on, and I will have those guys on the show. And if you know like the Spirit Talker app, Spirit Music Blog, Spirit Piper, I'm in contact with the creator of those apps to come on the show and explain us how's the physics behind everything.
That is very cool. I would love to hear that. I don't think I've ever seen somebody that created an app like that come on a show and speak yet. So that would be really cool to see how they operate.
Yeah. The guy he's an open-minded engineer.
You need to check out Anthony's video. Him and Ron did a paranormal investigation where they spotted a heated hand on a wall where there's nobody around. It's a great footage. I mean, it's raw.
It was like a whole series of events that happened. We went to an abandoned property from the 1700s, and we heard a voice, somebody talking to us like a child. And then I had the FLIR camera and the night vision and a regular camera going. But then you see a person walk through the building through a wall, right? And the building's closed. All the windows and doors are screwed shut and everything because it's a historical preservation. So nobody goes inside these buildings. And then after seeing all of that, I turn around and I start walking back to the building with Ron. And on the wall is a handprint forms. And it just stays there till it fades out on the FLIR camera. So it was like 3 different chains of events that happened: the EP, the apparition, and then the handprint on the wall. Yeah, it was nothing evil or anything like that. Probably just a spirit or something trapped there that wanted some attention. But it was really mind blowing. It was really cool to see.
Me, I called the video "The Demons That Are Roaming Charlotte County Court" because after that investigations, we were drained. I never been so drained in my life, and it was the court. It was heavy, and Felicity, the curator, she told us that she had multiple people telling her stories that they see somebody walking outside of the courthouse with the noose in his hand,
Wow.
walking and passing in the window. And that place was really active. There was like loads of hangings right there because you have the courthouse, and right beside the courthouse you have the jail. So they were traveling from the jail to the courthouse, and the last hanging happened there. It was a sergeant from the Royal Air Force that was accused and convicted of murder. 1942. It was the first and the last hanging over
Wow.
there.
But
Yep.
let me ask you,
We
how do
even
you
dug out.
determine?
We even dug pottery out of the ground from
Oh
the
wow!
location that we went on. You know, old. Oh, this is from like the 1700s. Pieces of plate and stuff with paint still on them, and the pottery, broken pieces of pottery. You know, we had to
Oh my!
dig for it, excavate for it, but we found it, and we each took some home. But that's a cool find, not for nothing. You know, old pottery like that, handmade from back then.
Cool.
You
Hey, let
know,
me ask you, how would you determine a ghost between a demon of your experience? Like when is it when you think that's not a ghost? We're messing with a demon. What's that for you?
When I looked in, I really, I'm not saying that I studied, but I really looked into demonology. I went into some books. I talked to some people. I know I have listened to some tapes about of Ed Warren. I know that he's the only person that had access to the Vatican records on demonology. And you have two types of demons. You have like the pure demon. He will never say that he's a demon, but he will suck the energy out of you. He will try to get you as down, as depressed, anxiety, everything that will bring you the lowest to the lowest. That is for me in the description, that is a demon. And you have the mimic. The mimic is the one that will try to scare you. He will scare you in every freaking way to feed out of that fear.
See, you just proved that all teenagers and young people are demons because
they are.
they're all depressed
Yep.
now. They're all they all need blankets.
They are.
So you just said it. They're all demons.
My son just tells me before the show this morning his girlfriend pops up on TikTok, right? Now I'm not subscribed to the kids or anything, but she pops up with my son. They're doing like a bit on TikTok, and I like the video. Do you know I get a phone call from my son? He's like, "Dad, don't like my girlfriend's videos. That's weird." I'm like, "Then tell your girlfriend not to be on TikTok." I said,
Exactly.
"Kids are weird with things, man. You know,
Yeah.
unreal."
So that's the way I kind of balance the equal, that kind of in between them. And when I go in places and I hear bangs and everything, I will go and investigate what the hell is happening. And if an entity try to scare me, it gets me going.
Yeah, indeed.
I want to go in depth. I want to know why. Why are you so angry? Why are you trying to scare everyone? Were you something nice before, or you became angry? Were you a human spirit, or kind of and before human energy that became a bad energy? What is it? is it like serial killers that became bad energies?
Well, some
It
become
could
angry
be.
because nobody's listening.
Exactly. That's what I
You
was just
know,
going to say. They have nobody to speak to anymore. They can't contact anybody anymore because they're dead, and they become angry that they have nobody to talk to, and they're stuck on the other side in purgatory or whatever, and they can't get out. They don't know what to do, so they
Yeah.
just become angry, visceral creatures.
The best responses that I had in graveyards were old abandoned graveyards. I find the most like this, like the tomb that is forgotten by everyone. I go and see this one because I know he wants to talk. I know he wants to pass probably a last message to his family or something. And most of the time, I've got stuff. And I will go to historic places and I will ask, is somebody has a last message to get through? And
Have you gotten
sometimes
anything yet from anybody? Like a last request?
sometimes yes. I did an investigation here in Trois-Rivières. We have an old graveyard. They dates back to 1808. It was founded, and it was abandoned around 1912. It was like all overgrown, and there were like important historical people in that graveyard. The flag bearer of General Wolfe on the plains of Abraham is buried there. And there is a mass grave of 35 soldiers that drowned in 1814 here in Quebec. They were coming, the War of 1812, there was reinforcement coming from Europe, and they came across a river, and one of the barge capsized. And I went there and I started asking questions. And back then, the only person that had his name on the monument was the officer.
Oh, wow. I wonder why that is.
He was a gentleman. He was from the high society.
But still, you
So
would
his
think because
name was,
everybody died, they would all be up on the plaque.
so the monument says, like, in memory of Lieutenant and the NCO and 34 other soldiers. So when I went there, I never had so much names come through Spirit Talker
Oh,
in
that's
my
awesome.
entire life.
The names that came
And
through, did you look them up to see if they were attached to the soldiers themselves?
I'm still looking. I'm
Yeah.
still looking. I've sent through some of my contacts. I've sent some requests to the government in the UK to have the records of the 81st Regiment of Foot of 1814 to have the names of that company. I'm still waiting, and well, I will compare the names, but I have names like ladies' names, and we're asking questions, and it was like irrelevant. We had flashlight open and closing,
Oh,
and
wow.
at a certain moment, we had the word cut and rope coming through Spirit Talker. So out of the blue, I just asked, "Did you cut the rope to sacrifice yourself so the other rest of the platoon wouldn't drown?" Flashlight turned on.
Wow.
I had chills all over my body.
So
I
you
was
would get
like, "Oh no,
significant communication from that, you know?
exactly."
That's pretty
Yeah,
cool, man. That is pretty
that
cool.
was one heck of a night. So that
I
made
bet.
me somewhat believe. And it was like my second or third real investigation. And I had my rampart. I just had my rampart like 1 or 2 days prior to that, and never worked. I thought it was broken. And all of a sudden, I was like, my back was turned, and I hear beep, 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 beep. What? so,
That's pretty
so
cool.
I go into those places with an open mind, but that's why I want to put myself more into the history depth, like the Wendigo. I I grew up with that legend. Like
Yeah.
when I say I'm an expert on the subject, it's like I
You're
was
very
born
passionate
into it.
about it. Yeah, you're very
Yeah,
passionate. Yeah, it's part of your history.
and it could be a being that lives around here. We never know. If one
Yeah.
of these days I come across the being that is described, like with the antlers and everything, I would be the first one to say I saw a fucking Wendigo.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting closer to the end of the show. I'm gonna show some show and tell of your both channels, so everybody knows your next video's up. But let me tell everybody in the chat, I finished the script last night for the new cartoon. I'm gonna show you just a tiny bit. Beginning. You see Connor with 2 alien girls. I'm gonna give you a little clue. That's all you're gonna get. I got the script. We're gonna start recording. We're gonna start recording probably this week, getting some people on it. So that's coming. This Wednesday, you actually our guests who are here right now, and you saw that he's got a show this Wednesday. I got that's Wednesday live stream with special guest Paranormal XP.
Yes,
So
I'm
I'm
going
gonna copy
to
that and put
investigate.
that in the chat so you guys could put an alert bell on that. Oh, I forgot. Seemed like some reason when I pop up, it doesn't pop up automatically, but that's this Wednesday. And then we've got another show coming up this Wednesday. Unidentified S4. How can we prepare for alien contact? That's a damn good question. What can we do? What can we do to prepare for it?
What can we
Never
do?
thought about that.
I actually have a video up that I put. I wrote a script the other day, and I put the video to it. It's like 2 minutes long. If you want to check it out, the video I put it up this morning. Short.
I'll check it out. I
the
never
point.
thought about that. What would I say?
What would you do if that happened?
Now you got time to Wednesday to think of your ideas, and then you hear everybody else's ideas.
Come hang out.
And then we got so many things also we're doing behind the scenes. I mean, I'll be recording some videos for tomorrow and working on another interview with the 2 wonderful girls that I'm going to try to convince them to also voice the 2 girls in bed with Connor if they'll do it for me. So we got so many fun things coming up, and listen, it was fun listening to your story or giving us more in depth of the Wendigo. I mean, that was awesome, and we learned that you are a paranormal guy, just like a lot of us.
That's awesome.
Because I always feel that in the paranormal, the answer that I'm looking for is there. I'm talking about is there life after death? I feel like the answers is there in the paranormal, and I love it when I see people research and all that. But before we go, you want to say anything to the people exploring Harley? You want to say anything?
I have a video. If you come and check this video this Friday on the St. Andrews, the Charlotte County Courthouse, you see it's a wonderful building, and it's riddled with crazy energies. And this Friday, the girls that I will have on my show this Wednesday, I'm going to investigate with them in Ontario at the Beck House. It's an historical old Victorian house that was built around the 1830s, I think.
Oh, that's awesome. Anthony, you got anything you want to say?
No, I'm just dropping the link in the chat for the shorts. I wrote a short story and did a video to it this morning. I put the link in the chat.
And check out Anthony's video he's put out about in Canada a Bigfoot sighting.
Oh yeah, Northern Ontario. I'll drop that in the chat too, because that was pretty wild. And I put up a short today of a Bigfoot vocalization. That's wild too. So you can check that out too, man. It's pretty wild. These Sasquatch, man, they're coming out more and more. I don't know if it's because of deforestation and they're just starting to show themselves more and more, or I don't know what it is, but
it could be
footage lately. Getting a lot of footage.
It could be.
Yeah.
It's like other animals. When the forest gets cut out, they have to find a new place to live.
Yeah, exactly.
And one last thing, I think on every show, if you, I like to give out some recommendations that's not related to the cryptids, paranormal, and all that. If you guys ever want a good YouTube channel, here's a good YouTube channel on food. This guy makes delicious food, and I just want to give him a shout out because I ask him questions on certain kind of foods. He gives me answers and all that. I love it when channels interact with you. If you have questions and all that. So you guys, you ever get hungry, his videos are only 5-6 minutes and they're awesome. But beyond that, I want to
Mama
thank
Four Boys. That's a great channel. I know them.
He's a great
Good
channel.
people.
And
Yeah.
and he has, and I give him ideas, he give me ideas. I love when people interact with you. I love when hosts will talk to you through comments or whatever emails.
You met them on Tuba Chat, didn't you, Eric?
What's that?
You met them on Tuba Chat.
Well,
Mama
and
Four
he
Boys.
went to my channel and he loves my videos, and I love it when people watch your
they're
videos. I want to give them a shout out too. So I appreciate people like that. It's so awesome when they do that. So beyond that, everybody have a great day, and I'll probably see a lot of you next time, actually on Anthony's channel, when we're going to figure out how do we survive an alien attack, or when they come to, how are we going to survive? What are we going to do?
Plan for an alien invasion.
I know what I'm going to do. They're going to attack America because we're overpopulated. We're going to his place in Canada.
We're going to Canada.
Nobody
Come in the
wants
woods.
friendly Canadians because they're friendly.
We have
They're all
space.
friendly, right?
Yeah, they have space. You can breathe.
And we got maple syrup.
You have maple syrup.
Beyond that,
Yeah.
see you guys next time.